October 12th, 7:32 p.m. The rain hadn't stopped for hours. It drummed softly against the cracked window of the old Maplewood house, the kind of sound that makes silence even louder. Noah stood in the doorway, suitcase still in hand, staring. At the living room that once held 1,000 memories and one too many ghosts. The air smelled faintly of dust and old lilies, the same flowers his mother used to keep by the window. He hadn't been back here since her funeral. He told himself this visit was only for paperwork, nothing more. No goodbyes. No forgiveness. Just signatures and closure. He moved through the house like a stranger in his own past. His reflection flashing in the dusty glass frames along the hallway, childhood photos of him and his mother, smiling like they had never fought. Before the shouting, before the betrayal, he stopped at the door to her old room. The door creaked open, slow and reluctant, like it, too. Didn't want him there. Inside, the room was almost untouched. The bed neatly made, the curtains drawn halfway. On the dresser sat a jewelry box, mahogany, polished and out of place amid the stillness. Noah frowned. His mother had always kept her things in order, never careless, but the jewelry box wasn't locked. Its lid was slightly open, like someone had wanted him to find it. He hesitated, hand hovering above it. Inside lay a small folded envelope, yellowed by time. His name written in her unmistakable handwriting. To Noah, for when you're ready. He froze. His throat tightened. The last time he saw her, she had begged him to talk, to understand. He had walked away instead, slamming the door on her tears. And now, the paper trembled in his hand as he opened it. The scent of her perfume, soft lavender, rose faintly from the folds. He read the first line, then the second. By the third, his hands started to shake. Her words weren't what he expected. Not excuses, not apologies. Just memories, one after another, of moments he'd forgotten, or tried to. The night she held him through his first heartbreak. The time she sold her wedding ring to pay for his college tuition. The lies she told his father to keep him from leaving. Every sentence pulled him deeper into the kind of truth that burns more than it heals. Noah sank to the floor. And for the first time in years, he whispered her name. But before he could finish reading, something slipped out from the envelope, another piece of paper, folded smaller, almost hidden. He unfolded it with trembling fingers. A photograph, a young woman, his mother, smiling beside a man Noah had never seen before. And behind them, a baby. The date on the back read June 3rd, 1994, the year before he was born. Noah's heartbeat quickened. Who was that man? He stared at the photo again, closer this time. The man's eyes sharp, green. Familiar, they looked just like his. The letter fell from his hands. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. He stumbled too. His feet staring at the photograph as if it might change if he blinked hard enough. His mother's secret wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about him. And now he had to know the truth. The storm outside had grown fiercer, wind howling through the broken shutters like a warning. Noah stood frozen, the photograph trembling between his fingers, his pulse pounding in his ears. The man's face, half lit by a crooked smile, was impossible to unsee now. The resemblance was undeniable. The same chin, the same eyes, even the faint scar near the eyebrow, exactly where Noah's was. He swallowed hard. Who are you? He whispered to the silent room, but deep down, he already knew the answer he feared. He sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at the picture again. The handwriting on the back, June 3rd, 1994. Our secret day. Our secret day. His mother had kept it hidden for nearly 30 years. Why? He tore through the jewelry box, searching for anything, another clue, another note. Inside a false bottom, his fingers brushed against something thin and cold. A locket. Inside it, another picture, his mother again. but this time holding a newborn wrapped in a white blanket. The man wasn't there. Noah's breath quickened. Had his entire life been built on a lie? He grabbed his phone, scrolling through old family pictures, looking for signs he'd never noticed. His father, the man who raised him, had dark eyes, rough hands, a temper that always simmered beneath the surface. They never looked alike, and people had mentioned it in whispers over the years. He used to laugh it off. "I take after Mom," he'd say, but now he couldn't laugh. He couldn't breathe. His mind replayed every argument, every time she tried to explain something and he refused to listen. "You wouldn't understand," she'd said before giving up, before growing quieter each year. Maybe she wanted to tell him. Maybe she almost did. He turned back to the letter. The ink had bled slightly from tears he didn't remember shedding. Near the end, one line caught his eye. "There are truths I carried to protect you, not to deceive you. When you find this, I hope you'll see the difference. The difference. Protect or deceive." He didn't know anymore. Lightning flashed outside, briefly illuminating the photo again. He noticed something new behind the smiling couple. In the corner of the frame, the sign of a diner. Harper's Grill, Maplewood Junction, a real place. A small diner just outside town, if it was still there. Maybe someone remembered her. He felt a pull, the kind that doesn't come from curiosity, but from something deeper. Something between anger and longing. He pocketed the letter and photograph, grabbed his coat, and stepped into the storm. The house groaned behind him as he shut the door, as if it knew what he was about to uncover. The rain soaked through his jacket before he even reached the car, but he didn't care. The engine stuttered to life, headlights slicing through the misty road as he drove toward the diner, the letter echoing in his mind. "When you're ready." Was he ready now? Or was he just too haunted not to be? The road twisted through the dark woods, each turn pulling him closer to a truth that could shatter everything or finally piece it back together. At the edge of town, the glow of a neon sign flickered through the rain. Harper's Grill, still there. Still waiting. Noah parked and sat in silence for a long moment, heart pounding. The letter lay on the seat beside him, edges damp, her handwriting glowing faintly in the dashboard light. He took a deep breath, stepped out, and pushed open the diner door. The bell above it chimed softly. And at the counter, wiping a glass with slow, steady hands, stood an older man with those same green eyes. The same eyes Noah saw in the mirror every day. The man looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the man whispered, voice trembling, "You look just like your mother." Noah's world stopped. The air inside Harper's Grill was thick with the smell of coffee and old secrets. The rain outside blurred the windows, turning the neon lights into bleeding colors that shimmered across the counter. Noah didn't speak. He couldn't. His body stood still, but his heart was sprinting. The man, gray hair, weary eyes, hands. That tremble just slightly set the glass down and looked at Noah like he'd seen a ghost. Maybe he had. "You look just like your mother," he said again, quieter this time, almost to himself. Noah's voice cracked. "Who are you?" The man hesitated, lips tightening as if weighing a truth that had waited far too long. He motioned toward an empty booth by the window. "Sit, please." Noah sat, dripping rainwater onto the vinyl seat, his fists clenched. The man joined him slowly, never breaking eye contact. For a moment, it felt like time itself had folded two strangers, sitting across a table, bound by blood and silence. "My name's David Harland," the man said at last. "I knew your mother a long time ago." Noah's jaw clenched. Knew her how? David sighed. The sound was heavy. "We met in this very diner. She worked part-time here back in '93. Bright smile, stubborn heart. I loved her." The words hit like thunder. Noah's pulse roared in his ears. "Loved her?" He repeated, You mean you? David nodded before he could finish. Yes, but it wasn't simple. She was married already, unhappy, scared. I didn't know the whole story until it was too late. The diner around them seemed to fade away. Noah leaned forward, voice shaking. Are you saying you're... David's eyes softened, full of regret. Your father? The word landed like a crack splitting through Noah's chest. He pushed back in disbelief. No, that's not what she would have told me. David's expression didn't change. Only sadness deepened in his eyes. She wanted to, many times. But your mother was terrified of what it would do to you. To your life, to the man you called father. She thought she was protecting everyone. Noah stared down at the letter in his hands, the line echoing in his mind. There are truths I carried to protect you, not to deceive you. He couldn't speak. Couldn't even breathe properly. She came by here once, David continued softly, years after you were born. Told me she couldn't stay in touch, but she wanted me to know you were safe, loved, growing strong. I never stopped thinking about you. Noah's throat tightened. He wanted to be angry, to shout, to demand where this man had been all his life. But beneath the storm of questions, something else stirred grief. A grief that had nowhere to go for years, now finally spilling out. She died without ever telling me, Noah whispered, and now it's too late. David looked down, tears glistening in his eyes. She was braver than either of us. She carried pain so you wouldn't have to. I wish you could have heard her talk about you, how proud she was. The words broke something open in Noah. His chest felt hollow, his pulse unsteady. He thought about all those years he'd ignored her calls, the messages left unheard, the birthdays spent in silence. She wasn't keeping secrets to hurt him. She was keeping them to save him. He covered his face with his hands, shaking. David reached across the table, hesitated, then rested a hand over his. You don't have to forgive anyone today, son, he said quietly. But you can start by forgiving yourself. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The rain softened, fading into a gentle drizzle dot. Noah looked up, eyes glassy but clear. The anger had ebbed, replaced by something fragile but alive understanding. She said I'd find the truth when I was ready, Noah murmured. Maybe she knew it would lead me here. David nodded slowly. She always did have a way of knowing what came next. Outside, the clouds were breaking. Faint sunlight peeked through the gray dot. Noah exhaled, steady for the first time in years. He unfolded the letter once more, reading the final lines aloud under his breath. If love ever asks you to choose between pain and truth, choose truth. It hurts less in the end. A single tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. He looked at David and managed a small broken smile. She'd probably say we both took long enough. David chuckled softly, voice trembling. Yeah, she would. The two of them sat there, father and son, as the morning light began to spill across the diner floor, quietly mending the pieces she left behind. The next morning, the storm had cleared. The air was crisp, the sky washed clean, the kind of fragile calm that always follows a long night of truth. Noah sat on the porch of the old Maplewood house, the letter resting beside him. The sun caught the edge of the paper, turning it gold for a moment, as if her words still carried light. David had driven him home at dawn. They didn't talk much on the way. Some silences are too full to fill with words. But before leaving, David said quietly, she would have wanted you to know she never stopped loving you. Neither have I. Now, the quiet felt different. Not empty, just healing. Noah looked out at the yard where he used to play as a kid, where his mother had sat on summer evenings with lemonade and that same tired smile that hid more than he ever knew. He could almost see her there again, the way she'd tilt her head when she was thinking, how she'd hum softly when folding laundry, how she'd say everything happens for a reason. Even when she was breaking inside, He finally understood what she meant. He unfolded the letter again, reading the last paragraph slowly, the one he hadn't been able to finish the night before. By the time you read this, I may not be there to explain everything, but I hope you'll look at the life we had and know that every hard choice I made was out of love. I don't expect forgiveness, Noah. I only pray you find peace, because you deserve that, even if I never did. He exhaled, long and trembling. All those years of anger, all those sharp words he could never take back. And now, none of it mattered. Forgiveness wasn't something she needed anymore. It was something he did not know stood, walking to the backyard where an old oak tree stretched tall and familiar. He knelt beneath it, the earth still damp from the storm, and buried the letter gently, pressing the soil with his hands. You don't need my forgiveness, Mom, he whispered, but I think I needed yours. A breeze passed through the trees, soft and almost warm. The leaves rustled like a sigh. For a moment, it felt like she was there, not in the house, not in the photo, but in the quiet between heartbeats. He looked toward the road, where David's car had disappeared hours ago. The truth had changed everything. Yet somehow, it felt like this was where it all began. He took one last look at the house. The memories didn't sting anymore. They felt alive again, real. And when he finally turned to leave, his steps were lighter. The man who'd arrived here last night was gone, the boy who carried anger like armor. In his place walked someone freer, someone finally willing to remember without regret. As he reached the gate, he whispered one last thing into the morning air, words that came easy now, words that had waited a lifetime to be said. I forgive you. Mom. The wind carried the sound away through the trees, gentle and endless, and for the first time in years, Noah smiled, not because he'd found the truth, but because he'd finally stopped running from it